Okay, the first one, you got parallel lines. So if you have parallel lines and I give you one angle, you should be able to get all the angles. So this one right here is 40, so that means this one's going to also be 40. This one's going to be 40, and this one's going to be 40. So fill them all in. 40, 40, 40, 40. Now the other guys are going to be supplementary, so they're all straight lines. So this is a straight line right here. So that means that's 140, because in a straight line there's always 180 degrees. And if that one's 140, that one's 140, this one's going to be 140, and this one's going to be 140. So now we know all the angles. Now we just got to solve for the variables. So this guy, the math is just 5x equals 140. So divide by 5, divide by 5. The value of x, to make that true, x has to be 28. And then the y, they also equal 140. So the 3y minus 1 has to equal 140. So undo the minus 1, so let's add 1, add 1. So we've got 3y is equal to 141. Undo the times, divide by 3, divide by 3. So to make that true, y has to be 47. The next one is quite a bit harder because there's no angle given. We have no idea the degree of these angles, but we do know, if you're looking at this picture right here, and these are parallel right here, I do know that this one and this one and this one and this one, those four are the same. And then I'd know that these four are the same, and the red one and the blue one have to be 180. So if you take a blue and a blue, they're the same, whatever they are. We don't know. Red and red, they're the same. But if you take a red and a blue, any red and blue, they have to be 180. So this position right here and this one, I am looking at this and this. So I know that those two, the position that they're in, they have to be equal to each other. So the algebra, the geometry says those angles have to be congruent. So the algebra is this: 8x minus 10 has to equal 7x. And now it's just algebra, so solve. I'm going to minus 7x on this side, minus 7x on this side. And that's done. 8x minus 7x, I just have 1x minus 10 is equal to 0. And so now I'm just going to undo the minus 10. I'm going to add 10, add 10. So I have 1x equals 10. Okay, now I'm going to plug that in, because the only way to find y's, I don't have any other y's to compare it with, but if I let x be 10, if I plug that back in to like this one right here, the 7x, that's really 7 times 10. So that is a 70-degree angle. Now I can get this pretty slick. If I know that is a 70-degree angle, I know that this one has to be 110, because they are supplementary. They're on a straight line. Every straight line has 180. So I'm just going to do 180 minus what I've got, minus 70, and that has to be 110. So the geometry tells me that angle's got to be 110. So the algebra is going to be 6y plus 20 has to equal 110 degrees. So minus the 20 minus the 20, and we've got 6y is equal to 90. Divide by 6, divide by 6, and you have y is 15. Okay. So make a little diagram and find out where those are located, because depending on their location, they're either going to be equal to each other or they'll add and give you 180. Okay, this mess right here, I'm going to break it up into two parts. So your parallel lines, these are your parallel lines, these guys right here. So if you have line W is coming in right here. You cannot confuse W and X. W and X have nothing to do with each other. W is going on some slope and X has a different slope. They're not parallel, or else they'd be marked up parallel. So W has 1, 2, 3, 4, oh no, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So I can only play with angles 1 through 8. And they give me 3 is 75. So if 3 is 75, 8 is 75, 1 is 75, and 6 is 75. So they just gave me half of them. To find the other half, like 1 and 2, that's a linear pair. They make 180. So if I do 180, take away 75, that is 105. So that means these other guys are 105. 5 is 105, 2 is 105, 4 is 105, 7 is 105. Okay, so I can answer 2. Angle 2 is 105. Angle 7 I can get is 105. 14 I can't get. 14 is going to the bottom line, this line X. 4, let's see, angle 5 I can get, that's 105. 15 I cannot get, 9 I cannot get. Okay, so now erase it, and now let's do line X separately. So you do the parallel lines together. Those ones are the ones that are linked together, and any other line you have to do separate. So X is this line on the bottom. Well, let me undo that. So if X is the line on the bottom, there we go, let's say that's X. So that's parallel, that's parallel. So I can get 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. And they're going to give you 10. Angle 10 is 110 degrees. So this guy right here is 110. That means this guy is 110. This guy is 110. And this guy is 110. So the other ones have to be 180 minus 110. So they got to be 70s. That's 70. That's 70. That's 70. So fill them all in first. And then find position 14. 14 has got to be a 70. 15's got to be a 110. 9's got to be a 70. Okay, now this one's a little more challenging. This one's kind of tough. So, first of all, yeesh. I'm going to try and blow this guy up. Okay, whoa. Not sure what that is. Alright, here we go. So, angle 11 is 62. So that is 62 degrees. And then it tells me 14 is 38. So 14 is 38 degrees. Okay, here's what I can do. Dun 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 dun. This one is tricky because I've got them crossing. So if you know that's 38, you know that is 38. I can get these four pretty slick. And if I do 180, take away 38, 180, subtract 38, this guy is 142, and this guy is 142. So I can get those four no problem, and I can get these four. 8 has to be 62 degrees. Now I'm going to do 180 minus the 62. So 180 take away 62. That is 118, and that is 118. So I can get 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So we just got 13. 13's got to be 142. But now we're going to get these top ones, and they might be a little tricky. So now check this triangle out in the center. You can get 5. So in the center you got a triangle. Anytime you have a triangle, there's 180 degrees among those 3 angles. So if I punch in 180 minus this angle and minus this angle, so if I minus a 62 and I minus a 38, okay, we just got 5. 5 has to be 80 degrees, because these 3 add and give you 180. If 5 is 80, 2 is 80, because 5 and 2 are vertical angles, and vertical angles are always the same. So I just got 2. 2 is 80, and we actually got 9. 9 is 38 degrees. The only one we need now is 6. Okay, now check this line out right here. This line, I'm going to solo it right here. So I have got 38, 38, 142, 142. So these are parallel. So now if I only look at this line right here, it's going to make it kind of a lot easier. So I'm going to copy and paste 38, 38, 142, 142. And this 38 is in that spot. It's in the position of 6. So 6 is going to be 38. So a trick, if you come across a triangle, triangle has to have 180. Straight line has to have 180. Vertical angles are always congruent. Kind of like 13 and 10. 13 and 10 are vertical. 9 and 14 are vertical. And then if it's a mess, draw your parallel lines and separate your lines out one at a time. And then kind of copy and paste all the angles in there. Okay, now triangles. There's 3 types of triangles: acute, obtuse, or right. First of all, if I give you 3 lengths, that does not even mean you can make a triangle. So remember this: 13, 26, and 13. Find the biggest. The biggest is going to be 26. Put that on the bottom, and now your other guys are going to come off the ends. So 13 and 13, if these guys spin around and fall towards the base, will they prop each other up and make a triangle, or will they never touch? And the math is, you take the 2 small ones. If I go 13 plus 13, that equals 26 on the money. So as these fall down to the base, 13 is going to land right there. So from there to there is 13. And this, as it falls down to the base, it's going to crash right on that same point. And that's 13. So it's going to crash right in the middle of 26, both of them. So they will never make a triangle. You cannot make a triangle. The rule is, if you find your biggest piece, your 2 small pieces have to add and be greater than the base. So this middle one, the biggest of these 3 is going to be 20. So I'm going to make 20 my base. Now I'm going to add these guys, 14 add 8, and they must add and be bigger than the base, or else it will not make a triangle. They'll sit and spin and never touch, or they'll touch right in the center. 14 and 8 is 22, so check. It will make a triangle. So if I've got like 14 here and 8 here, as they spin down, they'll prop each other up somewhere. Boom, maybe like right there, 14 and 8, and make a triangle. So now the question is, what kind of a triangle will they make? Will they make an acute, an obtuse, or a right? And to figure out what kind of a triangle they make, let's use Pythagorean theorem. A squared plus b squared, and let's see if it's equal to c squared. So c is always the biggest, so c is going to be my 20. So let's go 14 squared add 8 squared, and let's see if it is really equal to 20 squared. If it is, it's a 90. So I'm going to go 14 squared, change these squares. 14 squared, that's 196. 8 squared is 64. 20 squared is 400. Okay, now if I add 196 and 64, that takes me to 260. Okay, and 260 is not equal to 400. So it's not a 90. And this, my hypotenuse, this one is much larger than the sum of my two little ones. So if your big side is the biggest, that means it is obtuse. If your big side is the biggest, it is obtuse. Okay, 17. Okay, who even knows what these are? These suck. 4 is okay, but square roots, I got no idea where they are. So if I approximate them to a decimal, square root 7, this number is like 2.64575. And then this number, 3 squared roots of 2, if I round that to some decimal, 3 squared roots of 2 is going to be 4.24264. Okay, so it looks like my biggest piece is actually this. So if I add my small pieces, if I add my 4 plus my 2.64, it's going to give me 6 something. And 6 something is bigger than this. So yes, it makes a triangle. And this one is my biggest. So I'm going to go square root of 7 squared plus 4 squared. See if it equals my biggest squared. Okay, now square it. If you square a square root, they undo each other. So square root of 7 times square root of 7. Squaring something, you times it by itself. So square root of 7 times square root of 7. That's just the square root of 49, which is just 7. So squares and square roots, they undo each other. So that's going to give me a 7. 4 squared is going to turn to a 16. 3 squared roots of 2 squared, you have to square both of them. It's going to be 3 squared roots of 2 times 3 squared roots of 2. And 3 times 3 is going to give you a 9. And 2 times 2 is going to give you a 4. And that's a perfect square. Square root of 4 is just 2. So it's really 9 times 2. So it's 18. And 7 plus 16 is 23. And 23 is not the same as 18. So it's not a 90. But this time my A and B, my small ones, were bigger. And so that is acute. Okay, now we're going to move into some trig. So we need to solve each triangle. Here's what we got to remember. Your capital letters are the angles, and your lowercase are the sides. So it is given 3 of the 6 pieces. So angle C, that is given to be 90. Angle B, that's given to be 48. And this is angle C, you go straight across, and that is side C. This is angle B, you go straight across, that's side B. This is angle A, go straight across, that is side A. So we are given little c. Little c is 3. Okay, first one, angle A is going to be easy. In a triangle, there are always 180. Your 3 angles have to give you 180. So I'm going to do 180 minus 90 minus 48, and whatever is left over, that has to be angle A. And it is going to be 42. Now, the only way I can find side A and side B is I got to do some trig. So if I'm going to do some trig, first you got to mark up your triangle. And you can mark it either from the 48 or the 42. Don't ever mark it from the C. Don't ever mark it from the 90. Mark it from one of the acute angles. And it does not matter where you mark it. If I mark it from B, that means the hypotenuse will never change. Your hypotenuse is the largest. It's always opposite the 90. But if I'm going from B, this is my opposite. And that means this is my adjacent. So your trig, your three trig functions, SOHCAHTOA, these are your three trig fractions. Use the 3 because you know what it is. And I'm going to go for B first. So I'm going to use the 3 and this one, which is the opposite and the hypotenuse. And only one of the 3 trigs uses the opposite and the hypotenuse, and that is sine. So the trig is going to be sine from where I'm marking, so sine from the 48 degrees. And if I am looking at the 48, the fraction is going to be opposite on top and hypotenuse on bottom. So it's going to be B on top and 3 on bottom. So I know what the hypotenuse is. I know it's 3, so plug it in. I have no idea what the opposite is, so just leave it as x or any variable you want. Okay, now the trig's done. Now you got to do the algebra. So solve for B. Get B by itself. Undo the division. Let's times by 3. Times by 3. And we will have B equals 3. This has got to be done on a calculator. 3 times the sine of 48. And that is like 2.2294. And they want to go to 1 decimal spot. So B we could call 2.2. And now once you know 2 sides of the triangle, if you prefer, you could always do Pythagorean theorem. So this is 2.2. So I know 2 sides of the triangle. I can go a squared plus b squared is c squared. And that'll give you the answer. You can just do trig. So I'm just going to, trig's going to be faster. Once you get used to trig, it's kind of preferred. So now I'm going to do this side with this, and the adjacent with hypotenuse, that's cosine. So now I'm going to do cosine, which is a totally different fraction. I'm going to go still from 48. The fraction for cosine is the adjacent piece over the hypotenuse. So now times by 3 times by 3. So all I got to do is 3 times the cosine of 48. And I get A equals 2.00739. So we'll just call it 2. Okay, now the next triangle, let's see, they give us no angles. They give us angle C, that's 90. So of the 6 components, they're going to give us 3. This A, so that's A. This is angle B, so that's side B. This is angle C, so that's side C. So they gave us little c is 7, little b is 6, and big C is 90. That's it. Okay, now we're going to find all the rest. So, in a triangle, if they give me 2 of the 3 sides of a 90 triangle, I'm going to just Pythagorean theorem. So, the hypotenuse is this guy. So I'm going to go a squared plus b squared, I'm going to put 6, equals c squared, that's 7. So now clean up my squares. A squared plus 36 equals 49. Now let's solve for a. So let's minus 36 from both sides, and you got a squared is 13, and undo the square, so square root, square root. And that's a irrational number. That's a nasty decimal. So let's go decimal, change it to 1 decimal spot. So if I go square root 13, we are going to go 3.6. Okay, now I've done as far as I can go. The rest has to be done with trig. So here are your 3 trig options. You can do a fraction sine, cosine, or tangent. So we got to mark it up. Never mark it from the 90. So I'll mark it from A. If I mark it from A, the hypotenuse is that piece, the opposite is that piece, and the adjacent is that piece. And I know all three sides because I just found this out to be 3.6. I know the opposite is 3.6, the adjacent 6, the hypotenuse 7. I know all three sides, so I can use any of the three trig. So it doesn't matter which one I use. So if I want to use tangent, I'm going to do tangent from where I'm marking from angle A. I don't know what it is, so that's the unknown. But I know the fraction for tangent, the opposite has to go on top. So that is my 3.6, and the adjacent has to go on bottom, and that's 7. So there we go. That is your trig ratio. So if you want to find the angle, this is what I got to solve for. I want angle A, so now you've got to undo the trig. And the only way you can undo trig is you've got to inverse the trig. So I've got to do tangent inverse on this side, and that kills tangent. So I just got angle A equals, but you got to do tangent inverse on this side. So on your calculator, you're going to punch in inverse tangent of that fraction, 3.6 on top divided by 7, and that will give you the angle. So angle A equals 27.216 degrees. So we'll call angle A 27.2 degrees. Okay, now angle B is going to be a piece of cake. In a triangle, there's got to be 180. So I'm going to minus 180, minus 90, minus 27.2. And that has to be, whatever's left over is angle B, 62.8.